What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. You were asking for update on the 60 series and today we will give you some.
With the 60 series, it was a bit of a tough love.
We see the frame damage is excessive.
We had our wins.
It looks delicious in my eyes. And from what you see, you would never guess that the frame is welded so much. What is probably a little bit over a meter.
And we definitely had our fair share of surprises.
The third valve is hammered. Also fourth is hammered. What do I mean with hammered is? They are hammered. They are flat. But the actual old C profiles are still in there. Just totally hacked up. It is just they tried to get it, hammer it out somehow, whatever.
Bondo is just everywhere. There's no spot on this car where there's no Bondo. That's crazy.
But today we are giving you a full look at how far this build has come. We will give you a full update on the project. We are talking about a freshly blasted and painted frame, rebuilt axles that are finally ready to roll, and yeah, a body that's got a few more holes than we expected.
Not really good news. It's pretty rusty.
That's onion style. Does that look like sheet metal or is it a boat?
And now we're gonna finish it off.
We start off in the rear of the 60 series Land Cruiser with the C-channels. The channels needed some work, because not only were they mounted backwards, but also the old ones were left in for good measure. So these definitely needed some work done.
On the left side we're pretty much flush, and on the right side we still have to adjust those. If we come over here, I made a cut where I can paint the upper piece like this. The only thing I have to cut now is like this little edge, and then we are pretty much finished. Drill all the holes where the rivets were, and we are pretty much done.
After drilling the holes for the bolts, my brother mounted the channels back on to see how they fit. And they sit perfectly in place. In the meantime, I'm cleaning the engine parts, because as you might remember, when we took apart the engine, rust was waiting around every corner.
Actually, I don't want to know what is behind it. What the...
Yep, that's rust. Not only the block had some surprises for us, but also the head.
It's part of the old head gasket. You see how gunked up? Look at this. The engine is.
Having leftovers from the previous restoration is the last thing we want, and that's the reason why we need to give it a good clean. And the cleaning is done. Now we secure the frame to the trailer and get it to the sandblaster. Of course, we remove the C-channels, so the inner side of the frame also can be sandblasted. But we had to act fast, because the weather wasn't on our side. Two days later it was finally time. The frame was sandblasted and it is ready to go. When we arrived at the shop, it was time to get a closer look.
The frame is back from sandblasting. It looks good. We have to do some little, let's say, cleanups where I missed the weld that I didn't grind. But after all, it looks good. And now we'll put some 2K primer over it so it doesn't rust, and then...
To make sure it stays that way, we need to apply a 2K rust primer. Before we can apply the rust primer, we need to get the frame into position and also grind down the old welds from the jig, which held the frame in place.
I wiped the frame down with silicone remover and now I will put some 2K epoxy primer on it to preventing from rusting, because I have to do some touch-ups where I have to put in the rear U-plates and so on and so on and so on. And when the frame does stay like this for like 4 days, it will be brown. So I have to put the epoxy ground over it And when everything is finished and bolted in, I put over a glossy black. And then we are good to go.
It's time to apply the rust primer. Really take your time when you paint the frame, because it's easy to miss some spots. We apply the rust primer really thick. I'm talking 2 to 3 layers thick. And why we apply a white primer, you will see in a minute.
I applied the primer. Now the thing will dry until tomorrow morning. And after that, I will do some touch-ups before I make it black. So I'm sure everything is done. Every bolt fits, every thread is good, because when it's black afterwards, it will be hard to do anything. And then, yeah, you know it. Yeah, and I also used white primer. The reason is why I used it, because when I used before black primer and then I painted the frame black, and it is hard to see where you have painted, where is the cover paint, or let's say the last layer of paint. And if you use white primer, you know exactly that everything is covered with the first layer, and it makes it so much easier if you use a bright primer.
Now it's time for the body of the 60 series. And of course the body has some surprises for us.
Hey guys, so I'm currently working on the body of the 60, and we made some not so nice discoveries, but I'll show you. So as you know or may not know, the body bolts, so like the opening for the body bolts, were welded solid, so you couldn't access them.
Stop! As you might remember, when we lifted the body of the frame, we discovered something when we opened the body mounts.
There should be a hole in order to access the body bolt.
When my brother saw that, he wanted to know why it was welded.
And yeah, I tried to cut it open, but look for yourself. So here was the piece that was welded in like this. And yeah, as soon as I opened it, I saw wait 1 second, what's underneath there. So yeah, not really good news. It's pretty rusty, and also some professional work done right there. And also on the other side, it was the same. 1 second. So let me come over here. If we take a look on the other side, also here, it was welded. I take a look, and yeah, that's the body bolt that was hiding right underneath there. Cut it open like it was before, and yeah, saw this mess in there. Wait 1 second, and I'll hopefully get the light right in there. And yeah, so what I'm doing next is lowering the tank just to access everything, take a look at it, grind it free, and see how bad it really is. Yeah, that's the next thing we're gonna do.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me.
So finally, some good news. I removed the tank, and we are looking pretty good down here. But as you can see, the last time they restored it, they didn't even remove the tank. So yeah, they didn't put much effort in restoring the 60. Yeah, now I'm gonna clean it, see how bad it is, and that's pretty much it. So I've grinded it free to see if there are any holes other than those we know of, and we're looking pretty good. Not gonna lie, it seemed at first glance a bit more rusty than it actually is, which is a good sign. We're gonna fix that and we go from here. So now we have to move the axles from the back over here, just to get everything off of them, and then they will go to the sandblaster to just have them sandblasted like the frame. But that's going to be one hell of a job, because the axles are back here and we have to go back over here. So yeah, so the brake lines are off. It actually went like I thought it would. I had to cut most of them but we're gonna redo those, so that's not a problem. The next thing is we're gonna take off the steering, and after that the leaf springs, and also of course the stabilizer. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just curious how things will look as soon as we open the axles and overhaul them, and then we are pretty much finished and done. So yeah, only thing is taking off the steering, and yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the front axle. Yeah.
Now we need to remove the steering assembly. For this we need to remove the 2 nuts, and then we can simply slide it out. After loosening the stabilizer, we can remove it. Next up are the leaf springs. For this we apply some oil and also some heat to get it loose, because they will definitely fight back. Told you, definitely a bit of a struggle. After removing the leaf spring, we can finally prep the axles for sandblasting. While we prepped the axles, I saw that both axle seals were shot, because they were losing a lot of oil. Definitely something we need to address later on. When we prep the axles for sandblasting, we remove everything, like the axle breather and also the brake calipers. After that is done, we can load it. With the loaded axle, we make our way to the sandblaster.
So we loaded the heavy-ass Toyota axles, and now we will drive to the sandblaster to get it blasted so we can finish the frame. In the meantime, the 2K epoxy primer I sprayed like 4 days ago is now dry and safe to work over it. I will now finish all the little parts on the frame. Like, you see these dishes, I have to put dishes on here and here and here. I already made some dishes and just tack weld them on. Why I painted before I weld them on? Because when I weld them on, I can't paint underneath it. So sure, some of the epoxy primer will burn off, but most will stay on. And why I do that is because I made the experience when I weld on such dishes, and afterwards you drive in the rain, it doesn't look so pretty when the rust is running down the frame. So I made it now this way. Also, we will prep the leaf springs, just get it clean with the wire brush and everything. And when we have the axles back, we will paint them in 2K epoxy primer, let them dry, and at this point the frame should be finished entirely. And then we will put it together with the springs and everything. Just no brake lines on, nothing, just the bare frame, bare axle attached to the frame. And then we will paint everything black in one, let's say, spray.
Next on our to-do list is fitting the C-channels back in, clamp them so they really got a support for later. So put them in position, clamp them, get them ready for welding, and that's pretty much on the back side of it. Then we'll go to the body mounts, clean them off, make them ready for the primer, and yeah, just the little things, but let's go. And of course, while mounting the C-channels back in, I noticed something. When I originally fitted them, I forgot to drill the holes where the rivets were, so we have to make them a little bit bigger.
While my brother finished everything, I went for the leaf springs. These needed a deep clean before painting them. And that's pretty much it for springs. The springs are also painted in 2 layers of black. Unfortunately, these won't stay black for long, but for now they fit the theme.
Now we fitted in the U-plates and bolted them in. The next thing we will do, we already have here the new body mounts I made. I will put on the new body mounts. We painted the rear of it because after it is bolted on you can't paint it. Then we'll cut off this stringing piece to get on in the shock tube. And on the other side, we have cleaned all the little parts. We will paint all the accessories for the springs. The springs are already painted. After that, and when I have back the axles from the sandblasting, we will also paint the axles with the 2K epoxy primer. Then we will throw the frame together. After everything is painted with epoxy primer, paint everything once black, or actually in 2 layers. And then it just has to dry and the frame is finished and ready to get rolled under the car. In terms of axles, I would say I'm pretty curious when they get back how they look on the inside, when I remove the brake drums and stuff, because actually the car was sold as drivable, but I'm pretty sure after all that, I'm sure the brakes are done, everything in the axles is done too. So stay curious.
Before painting we need to degrease everything. After degreasing everything, we can finally start to spray the rust primer. Same as before, we go with 2 layers on each side, and now everything just needs to dry. Which turns out to be the perfect timing, because the axles are back from the sandblaster. Same as on the frame, they are finally rust-free and clean.
So the axles are back from sandblasting. The guy took care to don't blast the, let's say, balls on the outer side of the axle, so they still seal afterwards. He did a good job, and now we will put some 2K epoxy primer on it, and then we'll paint them black afterwards with the entire frame and everything else.
Now it's time to unload them. Not going to lie, I wouldn't mind if these axles would be a little lighter. And here they are. We already prepped them and now it's time to apply the rust primer. After 20 minutes, both axles are painted. I love how they look in the glossy white paint.
The axle are now painted with 2K epoxy primer. When you paint something like an axle, take your time, do it part by part. But I mean, sure, the axle is an entire part, but first make like brake drums, then make the tube, then make the differential so you don't miss a spot. Just take your time, and what we do now is we let the 2K epoxy primer dry, and afterwards we will paint it into 2 coats of black, and it will look good.
Only thing left is to paint them black. As mentioned, take your time and don't rush it.
So we painted the axles of the 60 series. How we did that? We sandpapered the 2K epoxy primer after it was dry. Then cleaned everything with anti-grease. Very important also, we covered everything what we don't wanted to paint. And then we started to paint. First of all, the first layer we tried to get all the edges done so we have no runners in it, because when you just try to paint everything in one set, there is a high tendency that everything starts running, especially when it is a little bit colder and you paint outside. So we did it first with 1 layer to make all the edges, and afterwards a second layer to get really all of the axle covered in nice black paint. And that's why also we did it in a white 2K epoxy primer. Easy to spot on an axle with white primer on it if you missed something. So as you see, it looks actually pretty good. I mean, sure, you could do it better, but that's not the main factor on this car. It's a rust-free daily, or it should be a rust-free daily. And I think when we put the axle under the frame and everything is nice and black, it will look really, really good. And after we slapped everything together. I also will replace all the seals, the pinion seals on the axles, and also rebuild the knuckles and everything. So everything is for sure not leaking afterwards. And yeah, then it should be actually a nice driver.
After everything dried, it's time to reassemble the axles.
So now we prep everything to reassemble both axles. Yeah, just make sure you know what's front axle and the rear axle. Don't forget your little buffer things. Otherwise your leaf springs may squeak a little bit and that's just annoying. Get somebody to help you, because otherwise you're gonna scratch the axles and everything you painted, because as all Toyota guys know, these things are heavy as beep.
Reassembling everything is pretty easy. The hardest part here is to not scratch the freshly painted axles. After around 30 minutes everything is back in place. Now it's time for the drive shaft. As you can see, it definitely needs a cleanup before painting it.
And now for the second time, yeah, only the short drive shaft remains. Same thing as before, grind everything down and then we'll put some black paint on it.
Both drive shafts are done now and we can call it a day.
The last thing we have to do on the frame is the shock tube. The shock tube is still missing, or she's not missing. I have to weld it in. And afterwards we can paint the frame actually black. When we think about this 60 series, I said, I think 20 times, I don't want to weld the bodies. The thing with the body is, yeah. And then I looked closer actually when I put the body back on the lift. And there is a lot of Bondo and other things stuffed into holes I didn't see because they put so much undercarriage black gunk on it. Let's say it black gunk, but I will show it to you. It's actually the story of this car. Normally I do weld everything as it was, so it looks original. But I talked to the owner and the problem with the body actually is they welded it like an onion. When I say they welded it like an onion, and the cameraman already is laughing, I will show you something. That's onion style. So we have at least 2 or 3 layers of sheet metal. And this was right here. And you see, that's the original sheet metal of the Land Cruiser. And they didn't even cut it out. They just stuffed sheet metal in there, put some welding spots on it, and put Bondo over it. Not only from the outside where the paint is, also from the inside. So I had a longer talk with the owner and we got to the point where, yeah, I just cut it out and put straight sheet metal in so he can drive the car, and at some point probably next year we will redo the body completely or put a better body on it, a weldable body. This body would also be weldable, but the thing is, as you saw on the frame, is it takes way longer to cut shit out from someone else as to just make it the right way. And actually I have no words for it. There is so much on this car, but let's go over it. First of all, in the rear everything was bondoed on. Actually, both sides, and it is still garbage in my eyes, but it is, let's say, for the roadworthy inspection in Austria, it's okay. Because, yeah, I have actually no words. I show you something that you understand what is actually the matter on this car. Let's go to the front of it. What we have here is the inner wheelhouse for the front wheel. Does that look like sheet metal or is it a boat? Oh, it's a boat! It's the SpongeBob Boatmobile. So, actually everywhere. I mean, you don't see it, but when you start to pry around with the screwdriver, you have it here, here, on the other side too, on the rockers from the inside. The thing is, if you would sandblast this body, that would be like bad surprise. It's like if you have a mixer and you stick your fingers in it, probably the same outcome. Yeah, that's also the thing why everything takes so long on this car. We got from one thing to another thing to another thing. And you would say now, yeah, but you looked at it. Yeah, sure, I looked at it. But if someone buys a car for a certain amount of money and it is restored, I have a, let's say, certain positive attitude. They did it the right way. But yeah, no, they didn't. So we will finish it. The body, yeah, okay, still is welded afterwards. In German, we will call it a Fleckerlteppich. A Fleckerlteppich is sheet metal piece, another sheet metal piece, a sheet metal piece, a sheet metal piece. When you just could have taken one big sheet metal piece, put it in, grind it, and it looks kind of okay. I think when I start to cut out on this car, there is not much left of the original body because it's like the frame. They made so much, yeah, repairs on it is just difficult. But we will finish it, and that's the main point of it.
So looking back, would you say it's returned, or what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, German it would be a geschminkte Leiche. What is a geschminkte Leiche? A geschminkte Leiche is like a woman, you know? You take a woman with you home, and at the night everything looks kinda okay. And then in the morning, you look to the side and you think, oh, it's over. So that's with that car actually. It looked good from like looking on it. I mean, sure, I saw a lot of things, but the whole extent of it was for me actually, and I did a lot of these cars, was actually not visible from the first look on it. It's just everything they did is, every bolt actually has a fault to it. So yeah, that's why it takes so long. Fast forward. Here we are. There's the frame. It is pitch black and looks actually very good. What we have done in the meanwhile, I think the last you have seen on it was when we put the white primer on it. As you see, there is now a shock tube in it. Everything is together. Besides the C-channels, I didn't mount them because it was actually pretty cold here and the paint dried very slowly and I don't wanted to hammer them in actually. As you see, we made a new shock tube. I made the shock tube from a pipe and two 90 degrees angles. So an angled pipe, I cut it in half so I have two 45s. And then I made, let's say, this angle here with the two 45s, welded it. I put also a sleeve in it, so it is not just welded on the outside. I let a gap and then I welded out the gap with the sleeve underneath. So it is strong enough, more than strong enough actually, because the original one had holes over holes and was just rust. I would say the pipe was very thin. I found some Bondo. Something entirely new on this car. And then I drilled two holes in it for more or less the old shock mounts I reused from the old shock tube. because they are just massive iron pieces. They were just surface rusted actually. Measured everything so that it sits on the same position as it was before, lengthwise, and also how it sits in the frame. I measured that before from edge to edge, from edge to edge, so it sits in the same position. I also welded back on the exhaust mount, and yeah, as we see here, it looks pretty good. Sure, I also welded it in the frame. It doesn't just hold with glue, it is actually welded in. And when you remember the frame from before, how rusted this thing was, and what a piece of garbage it actually was, it looks fantastic. And actually, I like it how it turned out. The owner was here when I painted it, and he was also thrilled how it looks now, because he can remember the pictures I sent him when I disassembled the car. And let's be honest, the body comes now onto our, let's say, very good frame. So, and also I put the axles underneath, so I don't have to carry around the frame, because the frame is actually not the lightest part of a 60. So we put the axles underneath it. As you see, the axles are also painted. The springs are painted, everything is painted. What is missing now? The shackles are missing, front, rear. For the same reason, I didn't put in the C-channels, because the paint isn't as hard as I would like to get everything attached. It's easy to stretch something or just tear the paint off. So, and actually it was a lot of work. For you it was just 33 minutes or so, but for me it was months of hard labor, for me and my brother actually. We will see us next time on the next episode of Wrenching.